There comes a time in your life when success feels different than you expected. That's what happens to Rigby. After years of slacking off, of being the joke, of everyone expecting him to fail, something shifts. Success sneaks up on him as understanding of himself. This is the Rigby who's learned how to actually try. Someone who's found what it means to grow up. Rigby thought finishing high school would be his victory lap. Instead, it became the moment where everything got complicated. What happens when the kid who's always been the screw-up finally succeeds, and nobody knows how to handle it? But before we get started, make sure to subscribe to our channel. To understand why Rigby almost breaks down during his graduation speech, we have to go back to who he used to be. For 7 seasons, Rigby was the slacker who avoided responsibility, got Mordecai in trouble, and never finished anything important. That was his role, and everyone knew it. But something changed. Quietly, without making a big deal about it, Rigby went back to high school, did the work, passed his classes, and earned his diploma. Now he's supposed to give a speech on live television about how he overcame the odds. The problem? Nobody really believed he could change. Not even his best friend. When we see Rigby at the beginning of Rigby's graduation day special, he's confident. He's excited. He talks about graduation like it's the best thing that ever happened to him. I'm graduating tomorrow, and we gon' partay. He's proud of what he's accomplished, and he should be. But then he says something that changes everything. Man, the rate I'm going, I'll probably get my college degree before you get yours. It's a throwaway line, a joke between friends. But watch Mordecai's face when Rigby says it. There's this moment of uncomfortable silence, because for the first time in their friendship, Rigby isn't the failure anymore. Success changes everything, even when you don't expect it to. The phone rings. Principal Dean wants Rigby at school immediately, and as Rigby walks away, Mordecai makes what sounds like a joke.
Oh no, graduation's canceled. No graduation for Rigby!
But it's not really a joke. It's wishful thinking, because deep down, Mordecai needs Rigby to be the screw-up. He needs to be the successful one, and when that dynamic shifts, everything falls apart. At school, Dean tells Rigby he's going to give the graduation speech on Inspire America, a cheesy TV show about overcoming obstacles. Why? Because most high school dropouts don't come back, but Rigby did. Without drama, without making it anyone else's problem, he just did the work. The old Rigby would have panicked, tried to get out of it, blamed someone else, or found some ridiculous scheme to avoid responsibility. But this Rigby? He's nervous, sure, but he doesn't run. He tries to write a speech. Back at Eileen's house, we see Rigby's first attempt. It's terrible. He rides in on a scooter with sparklers, calls himself the Rigbone, and ends with a smoke bomb. His friends are polite but honest. It needs work. Here's what's remarkable. Rigby doesn't get defensive or blame them for not understanding his vision. He takes the feedback and keeps trying. That's growth, maturity, learning how to handle criticism without exploding. Meanwhile, something ugly is happening with Mordecai. The park gang is planning Rigby's graduation party, and Mordecai is being asked to get Rigby's favorite drink. It's out of season, which means a long drive to the outlet. And Mordecai starts complaining.
Is all this really necessary? I mean, graduating from high school is like the least a person can accomplish.
Let that sink in. Mordecai, who's supposed to be Rigby's best friend, is trying to minimize his achievement. For 7 seasons, Mordecai has been the responsible one with his life together, making better decisions. And now Rigby is achieving something meaningful, something that requires actual commitment and growth. High Five Ghost calls him out, but it's a big deal for Rigby. He's your best friend, dude. Good friends celebrate your wins. Great friends celebrate your wins even when they're struggling themselves. But jealous friends? They minimize your achievements to protect their own ego. So Mordecai drives to the desert, and Rigby calls him, panicking about his speech. This is the moment when a real friend would rush back to help. Instead, Mordecai says something cruel.
I don't know. You're so smart now, why don't you go listen to a sad song and figure it out?
Whoa, what?
I gotta go.
The "you're so smart now" is sarcasm. It's resentment wrapped in fake support. And when Rigby asks what's wrong, Mordecai hangs up on him. Picture this. You've worked hard to change your life. You're facing the biggest moment of that journey. You reach out to your best friend for support, and they mock you and abandon you. That's what Rigby is dealing with. And here's what's remarkable. He doesn't give up. The montage that follows shows us everything. Rigby, alone, trying to write speech after speech, watching videos of great speakers, taking notes, throwing away draft after draft. No one is helping him. No one is cheering him on. His best friend has abandoned him, but he keeps trying. This is where the real growth shows. The old Rigby would have quit, found some excuse to avoid responsibility, or blamed Mordecai for not being there. But this Rigby understands something fundamental. Some things are worth doing even when they're hard, even when you're alone, even when your support system fails you. The next day arrives, graduation day, and Rigby makes a dramatic entrance, jumping out of a helicopter and landing on stage. It seems like the old Rigby, right? The show-off, the attention seeker. But watch what happens next. He gets to the podium, and he freezes. All those drafts, all that preparation, and he's standing in front of cameras and a stadium full of people with nothing coherent to say. He fumbles with his note cards, makes awkward jokes that don't land, and finally runs off stage. This is his lowest moment. He's blown it on live television, embarrassed himself, his family, his school. Everything he worked for is falling apart in the most public way possible. And that's when Mordecai finally shows up, because he heard Rigby struggling and felt guilty. He brings a coffiny, dusty and dented from being thrown out of the van in anger, and makes a confession.
I guess I was mad at you. I know how messed up this sounds, but it's hard to see you doing so great.
I guess I always kind of liked that I was doing better than you before. This is brutal honesty. Mordecai admits that their friendship was partly built on him feeling superior. He liked being the successful one, and when Rigby started achieving things, it threatened that dynamic. He couldn't handle his best friend succeeding because it made him question his own worth. But here's what's beautiful about Rigby's response. He doesn't explode, guilt-trip Mordecai, or make it all about himself. He just says, "That does sound really messed up." Simple, direct, mature. He calls it what it is without destroying the friendship. And then Mordecai does something important. He acknowledges what Rigby has accomplished.
I think it's awesome that you've worked so hard to get here. You're graduating from high school today, man. You did it.
That recognition, that validation from his best friend, gives Rigby exactly what he needs. Mordecai's support matters because friendship matters. Success is sweeter when it's shared with people who truly understand the journey. So Rigby goes back on stage. And this time, he doesn't have gimmicks or props or carefully written notes. He just speaks from the heart.
I'm not good at this kind of thing. I'm not good at a lot of things. I wasn't even good at high school. But that didn't matter.
I just wanted to accomplish something. This is truth. Raw, honest truth. He's not pretending to be something he's not, acknowledging his limitations while celebrating his growth. He's not claiming to be transformed into a perfect person, just someone who decided to do better. Maybe at first I was just trying to impress my girlfriend. She's smart and cool and loves rocks and modern dance. Hi, Eileen. He gives credit where it's due. He admits that external motivation got him started. A lot of people are ashamed to admit they changed for someone else. But Rigby owns it, because he understands something important about motivation. It doesn't matter how it starts, only that it starts.
But I wouldn't be standing up here if that was all there was to it.
This is the key insight. You might start changing for someone else. A girlfriend, a parent, a friend, but real change, lasting change, has to become about you. It has to become internal. External motivation gets you moving, but internal motivation keeps you going.
You see, it's pretty easy not to graduate from high school. I did it by playing video games and straight up chilling.
Then when I set out to get my diploma, I figured life was going to get a lot harder. He's honest about his past without being ashamed of it. He doesn't pretend he was always motivated or responsible. He owned his laziness, acknowledged it, but didn't let it define him forever. He decided to change and did the work.
I took what I was told were the easiest classes, and I still had to do stuff.
Like scale the wall of a cave. I had to go to China, which is very far away, for those of you that didn't go to high school. I even had to beat a guy in a takeout food race. This part is brilliant because it acknowledges that even easy classes required real effort. Growth is about doing the work, whatever that work looks like, showing up even when it's difficult. And then comes the line that defines not just this speech, but Rigby's entire character development.
Once you do the hard stuff, it becomes not that hard.
The things that seem impossible become manageable once you start doing them. Confidence comes from action, not the other way around. You don't wait until you feel ready to do hard things. You do hard things, and then you feel ready for the next challenge. I may not be the man I used to be, the one who didn't graduate from high school, but unexpectedly, awesomely, I can still do the fun stuff he did. In fact, my alley fight dude's 4 score has never been better. This addresses a fear that keeps a lot of people from growing up. The fear that becoming responsible means losing yourself. Rigby is saying you can be responsible and still be you. You can grow up without giving up the things that make you happy. Maturity doesn't mean becoming boring. I've come a long, long way, and in the end, I still get to be me, but better. Not different, not someone else, just better. Real growth isn't about becoming a completely different person. It's about becoming the best version of the person you already are. And then he gets to the heart of it all. The answer is, I did these things for myself, not to impress anyone, but because I'm surrounded by impressive people. People who lifted me up and showed me that it's possible to do great, hard things. This is emotional intelligence at its finest. He recognizes that while the work was his, the support system mattered. He thanks Eileen, Mordecai, his parents, even Dawn. Individual achievement happens within a community. You don't succeed in isolation. Yes, America, today I may inspire you,
But I'm just part of a larger chain reaction. Let my success today lift you up so that you too can do great, hard things.
Rigby reveals something incredible here. He's not just sharing his story for attention or validation. He genuinely wants to help other people believe they can change too. The kid who spent 7 seasons thinking only about himself is now thinking about how his success can inspire others. The camera shows people across the country being moved by his words. A little girl decides to eat her crusts. A dad commits to eating his vegetables. A baby takes his first steps. Because sometimes what people need isn't a perfect role model. They need someone who was just like them and managed to do better.
So graduating class, go out and do great things!
The crowd erupts because he gave the most honest speech ever. He showed that ordinary people can do extraordinary things if they're willing to do the work. But here's where regular show pulls its signature move. Right in the middle of this triumph, the dome pagers go off. The park experiment is ending. They have to push a button, and when they do, the entire park gets launched into space. Rigby's graduation, this moment of personal victory, becomes the setup for an even bigger adventure. Because that's life, isn't it? You accomplish one goal, you grow in one way, and immediately you're faced with new challenges. But now, as they're flying through space, Rigby becomes someone who knows he can handle hard things. He's learned that growth is possible, that change is achievable, that you can become better while still being yourself. What makes this episode so powerful is that it doesn't make growth look easy. Rigby struggles. He fails at his first attempts. His best friend abandons him. He has a public meltdown, but he doesn't give up. He keeps trying, keeps working, keeps pushing forward even when everything seems to be falling apart. Real growth isn't a smooth upward trajectory. It's messy, difficult, and sometimes lonely. But if you keep doing the work, showing up, and trying even when you fail, you can become better than you were. Growth makes some people uncomfortable. Eileen supports Rigby unconditionally, but Mordecai struggles with jealousy because Rigby's success forces him to confront his own limitations. You can't stay small to make others comfortable. Real friends will eventually support you. Fake friends will try to keep you where you were because it serves their ego. Mordecai's jealousy is ugly but understandable. For 7 seasons, he was the responsible one. His identity was partly built on being better than Rigby. When that dynamic shifted, he didn't know who he was anymore. His confession is important because he admits his feelings instead of pretending they don't exist, owns his jealousy instead of hiding behind passive-aggressive comments, and chooses to support his friend even though it's hard. That's what friendship looks like when it's tested. Rigby's speech is a masterclass in honest communication. He doesn't try to be someone he's not. He doesn't claim credit he doesn't deserve. He doesn't minimize his past or exaggerate his achievement. He just tells the truth about his journey. And that truth resonates with people because it's real. He also shows something crucial about motivation. He started this journey to impress Eileen. There's nothing wrong with that. External motivation is still motivation. The key is that he didn't stop there. He internalized the process. He found his own reasons to continue. He made it about becoming better for himself, not just for someone else. Lasting change might start with external pressure or inspiration, but it has to become internal to stick. You have to find your own reasons to keep going when the external motivation fades. The episode also demonstrates the power of honesty. When Rigby admits he's not good at most things, when he acknowledges his past failures, when he gives credit to others who helped him, he's being vulnerable. And that vulnerability makes his message more powerful, not less. People don't connect with perfection. They connect with struggle and growth and honest effort. Rigby's speech works because it's not polished or perfect. It's real. It's human. The story of someone who decided to do better and actually did the work. The most important lesson: you don't have to be perfect to grow. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to transform into someone completely different. You just have to be willing to try, to fail, to get back up, and to keep moving forward. Rigby's graduation is about becoming better, proving to himself that he's capable of more than he thought, showing that lazy people can become hardworking, that irresponsible people can become reliable, that people who have given up on themselves can learn to believe in their own potential again. Growing up means becoming more of who you really are, learning, changing, and becoming a better version of yourself. The episode ends with them flying off into space, literally launching into the unknown. But Rigby has proven to himself that he can handle hard things. He's learned that change is possible. He's discovered that he's capable of more than he ever imagined. And that confidence will carry him through whatever comes next. Because once you know you can do hard things, once you've proven to yourself that growth is possible, you're ready for any challenge. Sometimes the biggest adventure is becoming the person you're meant to be. And that adventure is available to all of us whenever we're ready to do the work. Be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.